we don't have sales staff. We have retail therapists. We are your friend.
I love that. Retail therapist.
Yeah, retail therapy is a thing. It is not like some, thing for memes out there. It's a real thing. And we are the first sometimes to find out someone's pregnant. We are the first to find out sometimes that someone has had a death in the family and they have a funeral to go to in the next day or two.
Yeah.
Someone's getting a new job. Someone's new in the area. Someone just lost 100 pounds. Someone just gained 100 pounds.
Going on a date.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah,
you probably hear all the dating stories.
Oh my gosh. I get a lot of interesting stories.
Hey everyone, my name is Ethan DeLeon and I'm here with our founder and CEO of Small Nation, Jason Duff. Today we have the business owner of Unboxed Boutique and entrepreneur Nikki Winner joining us on the show. We want to welcome you to the Small Nation podcast where we share some of the valuable lessons with what we have learned about entrepreneurship, real estate, economic development, and more. The point of this podcast is to create value for you, the listener, and to create a space to learn, talk about what's trending, and inspire others.
Thanks, Ethan. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I have been looking forward to this episode because Nikki and we are music kids or geeks. And I think, Ethan, you fall into that too. Like,
yeah,
you did a lot of church ministry. And part of being like the band girl or the choir boy, like there's a stigma that comes to it. But when you find other people, and I think there's a good stigma too, when you find other people are like that, you just naturally gravitate to other music people.
I would agree with that.
So how many years in band for you?
Well, I mean, I did band all through high school, all through college. I didn't do it my senior year. I only went an extra quarter, so not really a full.
I was an extra quarter too.
Yeah,
like,
you
get busy with so many different things. And of course, the university loves to send you a bill for that
they
too.
They do
right?
enjoy that. So, but yeah, I feel like in college, I was always Jason adjacent. I was always like, you were in choir type things. I had a lot of friends there, but then I was over in the band area. Yeah. So, and then you were in theater things, which was at the Freed Center at ONU.
That's right.
But I was always in the other departments with like PR and broadcasting.
I remember a Nikki story. One of the places at our university in Presser Hall, there is this kind of backstage area. There was a name for that area where the couches were, I forget, we always kind of hung out in there.
The lounge.
The lounge.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone went to go to the lounge to vent. Like it could be like a really difficult rehearsal. It could be that a jury that you just were up against, whatever it was. But I just remember there was an animated day, and I'm like, who is that? Well, that's Nikki. Like, she's famous, but she's kind of mother henning a lot of the younger folks to say, toughen up, you're gonna get through this.
Yeah.
But like, it's so neat today to see what you're doing. At the time, did you ever think that you would be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely not.
Like, tell us about that journey from school to like deciding someday I'm going to open up a business.
Gosh. So when I went to Northern, my degree that I ended up pursuing was public relations, and had fabulous instructors there, had fabulous groups I belonged to. But one of the things that I noticed was most of the people who came in and spoke to us were from public relations firms. And there wasn't a lot of representation of other types of PR that you could be doing. And the one that I really gravitated towards after leaving college was in nonprofit. I had no idea that the nonprofit sector was a thing, not to the extent that it is. And I wasn't really a big volunteer person at that point. But I moved to Phoenix and got a job in nonprofit at a homeless shelter.
Wow.
And
why Phoenix?
For a boy. That was a bad choice.
Love,
but
right?
We'll go with that.
Was that a learning? That was a learning experience.
It was a learning experience. It was a teachable moment.
Okay.
A 2-year
We
teachable
love
moment.
those. Yeah.
But I will say that the greatest lessons I had were being in the homeless shelter out there.
Yeah.
And I have some great stories from that sometime. But what was interesting is I learned about how to manage volunteer groups effectively, and how, even though my job was in the office, if a daycare staff worker was out, sometimes you end up in the daycare with the kids, and I'm not a kid person. So it was
But you had to learn.
I had to learn fast.
I think that's the thing that sometimes with career paths, people get pigeonholed to think like, that's the job I'm just going to do. I'm going to follow this job description. And there's a lot of people that like going in the 9 to 5 and doing the same thing over and over. But there's also a group of people that don't fit the mold. Were you one of those individuals?
I was one of those. I could not do that. We had lots of different things that I was doing every single day. I had events all the time. I had weird phone calls. One of my favorite phone calls, one of my favorite stories from there was I was in charge of the Adopt a Family program. And at Christmas, everyone wants to come in and be Santa Claus and dress up. I had a rule, no more than 2 Santas a season. That's a little bit much after a while for the families at our shelter. I took a call for a third Santa. Turns out it was Casino, Arizona, calling on behalf of Charles Barkley. And they came out and donated like 17 grand to us, had a huge party for us.
Oh my gosh.
All because I went ahead and took that third Santa, even against my rules.
Yeah.
So, but it was all nights, weekends, just weird hours. And I don't know, I was doing something different every single day.
Yeah. Wow. So you're out there doing your thing. What made you decide to come back? What eventually led you down
The boy
this path?
didn't work out, so I came home.
Sure.
That's the short version. But when I came back, I had learned a little bit about something called a volunteer center when I was out in Phoenix. And it's a national concept of how to engage volunteers. You send them to one place, that place sends them out to all the other nonprofits. And I had the opportunity presented to me to come and do that in the Dayton area, to start a new volunteer center with United Way of the greater Dayton area. So I did that. So I got to work with tons of nonprofits in a 3-county area, ended up getting recruited from that job to do a similar position in Miami, Dark, Logan, and Shelby counties. So for 6-7 years, that's what I did. I was the matchmaker of volunteers.
That's awesome.
That's a cool job. And I imagine with that, you got to interact with a lot of different people and companies and organizations, particularly donors. And by seeing that, you meet and see different industries and business types.
Yeah. I mean, I had the CEO of LexisNexis volunteer for me. I've had, VIP people that I can't really talk about. Sure. But I've also had just regular people, like us who were there. So little kids. One of my favorite things was one of the favorite projects I participated in was working with a Seventh-day Adventist school down in Centerville that went into a place called Hannah's Treasure Chest in Centerville. They're like, the food bank is for food pantries. They're like the children's bank for children's organizations. They collect the clothing, the toys, all the paraphernalia you need for kids to work with. And we did murals on the walls. And to this day, I can go there and I can see those murals on the walls. And it's been years, but it's kind of a neat feeling.
Yeah. So you're working for there. What's next after that? How long were you there?
Between the two, I was probably in there, I would say 7 years. 7 years? About.
Okay.
And then I jumped around from a few nonprofits to others as I started having kids, your schedule changes, life changes. Yeah. Funding changes, which is always,
in the nonprofit world.
Yeah. I thought when I was leaving nonprofit, I burned out. After about 9.5 years, 10 years, I burned out. And I thought, I need to get out of something where my funding keeps dropping out.
That's a lot of stress. And you decided to start a business, which...
I know.
It won't be the high stress at all.
Famous last words, right? I left to go into HR, which was hysterical. And I only stayed in that for a few months. And then someone told me about a boutique opportunity that I could do online and from my house. Decided to do that with one vendor. And yeah.
So did you start in your home first?
Yeah. I worked with one vendor. It was with a national direct sales company. And I'm not really a big direct sales girl normally, so that was kind of weird for me to even look at. But I liked what I saw. I liked the vibe in the room. That's what caught my eye. I saw women being nice to each other. That never happens in a room. Mm-hmm. They were complimenting each other. They were saying, no, try this on instead. This will look better. And they were being genuine. People who normally in the office every day didn't like each other. So there was definitely a vibe happening. So I thought, this is kind of neat. Started doing that. And I started that at the end of May of 2015. And by mid-September of 2015, I was full-time in my own boutique.
How much do you credit with, I love that seeing people get, build up. There's not enough of that in the world. And so sometimes that positive experience, and also when you have your first sale, the confidence that comes from that, what kind of things, as you think back to that national sales opportunity, did you glean that made you and helped prepare you to be out on your own?
I think, so the organization I was with gets a lot of flack today, and some of it, might be appropriate.
Well, a lot of MLMs, so just to be honest, like that whole industry does get a lot of criticism. But I've seen people, whether it's Cutco knives or Kirby sweepers, we can name them all. There's a lot of skills that you can glean from organizations like that.
Right. I would agree with that. I think it depends on how you approach it. I always looked at it as, this is a company bringing me a toolbox. I'm going to take out what I need, and I'm going to keep myself true using some of the tools. So if you treat that organization like your vendor, not as your boss, it's a different mindset. So even when I saw things in that company that I wasn't really, excited about in the later years, it was easy for me to say, I can step away. I can do my own thing. I was a little more confident myself because I already had a voice within my boutique. I already had a thing. People knew me. They knew me with that company as well, but they also knew me separately. So I think that helped a lot.
Yeah. So for those of us who aren't familiar with like how boutiques work, just in general, just like let's like break it down real simple here, at least for me.
What is a boutique?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but where do you get your merchandise? So you're talking about obviously vendors, right? Like you're not making the clothes yourself. So like, where do you normally go to find these vendors? How does that work?
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't make my own clothes. I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
I have the world's shakiest hands.
What do you mean you don't have like a sewing machine that you're doing?
I literally
I'm glad you get asked
all
loud.
the time. I am 43, but I'm secretly 80. That's what I tell people all the time. And I just shake constantly. So no, I couldn't sew anything. When I left that national sales group that I was with, that was about a little over 5 years into that. Several friends left at the same time, and they were national bestsellers as well. So I was one of the top sellers, and they all were at the same time. And when we left, one is in Indiana, one is in Wisconsin, one was in Colorado Springs. She's no longer doing boutiques, but the others all are. And one's in Guam.
Wow,
and
Guam.
Yeah, so I know how to ship to Guam now. But we all shared ideas, and we all decided that we wanted to do something similar. We all wanted to keep a boutique that served women of all shapes and sizes. That was important to us. And we shared vendors. So we knew which vendors to talk to, which ones to not talk to, which ones, if one of us messed up and ordered something poorly, we knew not to do that again.
And I think that recon of hearing what is selling and, just like their vendor relationships, just because they have it on their website doesn't mean they're going to actually ship it to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right?
my gosh.
And especially the supply chain stuff. And if you depend on, clothing is seasonal, right?
Yes.
So if you depend on those shipments arriving and they don't, that's going to have a major impact on your customers and your business. It
does. And some of my best selling products are my worst vendors to work with. And I won't say which ones, obviously. Sure. But, they have no shipping timelines to work with. Everyone asks me, when are you getting this? I have to tell them, well, I ordered it. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I can't make promises to them. So.
And is it just like trade shows to find new ones? Or
so
is
you
it all
can
just
do
referrals?
that. You can go to market. There are big fashion markets a couple times a year, usually in Dallas and Atlanta. Now, when I started, so I opened my first brick and mortar, I went independent at the end of 2020. Okay. So we're in the height of COVID right there. Yep. And I had a surprise opportunity to open up my first brick and mortar in spring of 2021. We opened the doors June 1. Okay. And I do things fast. So, we turned that around fast. But when we did that, I had not had the opportunity to go to market yet. I still haven't had that opportunity. I was going to this month, and it's just not going to work out. Yeah. But there are websites I can work with, and I also belong to a group online called Boutique Hub, and they give a lot of insight on where to order things. But so I work through websites mostly, Facebook groups sometimes, but yeah, a lot of websites.
Yeah, okay.
And most people don't know the steps to actually open up a boutique are a few. Like you've got to actually establish a vendor's license.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's a lot of paperwork to create your entity, and then if you move from operating out of your home to a brick and mortar, and you've now got 2 stores, there's documents like finding appropriate location to open up, and then you have to sign a lease agreement. There's insurance, there's hiring employees, and not that you have to do all of that on day one, but if you look at the evolution,
it comes up pretty quick.
Well, and I think that's the kind of thing where I just am so impressed of what you have built, because you started Unboxed, which is your boutique, and that first store is in Tipp City, Ohio.
Right.
Tell us about that.
So someone approached me and they knew that I used to do something different, and they knew I had switched into my own clothing selections I was curating. And she said, have you ever thought about opening a shop? And what she didn't know is that I had always said, I would love to do something like that. I really like interacting with people. My high comes from interacting with you and helping you feel good about yourself, whether it was engaging you as a volunteer group and seeing you make a difference in connecting the dots of how that one project where you're washing dishes is actually changing the world.
Yeah.
If I can do that, that's my high right there. And so the same thing is true in the boutique world. When I see a woman step out of a dressing room, and whether it's my bathroom at my own house or whether it's in my boutique, you know, and she has a spring in her step, she has not even seen herself in the outfit, but she feels good.
Yeah.
And that right there is my high. So I said, if I was going to do this, I needed to do this in downtown Tipp City. That's where I have to be because that's where I live now. I'm passionate about downtown Tipp City. That is something I am just absolutely a fan of.
If you have not been to Tipp City, you know, when we first started our work 10 or 15 years ago, there are a few downtowns that I have always said that are just really magical and special to visit. And Tipp City in Miami County is one of those. And what's unique about Tipp is it's surrounded by two other really great downtowns. You've got Troy, that is, you know, 15, 20 minutes away, and then you've got Piqua. So it's a great day trip area, but when you walk into the authentic, historic downtown Tipp City, it's special because you can see they've built an ethic to care about history. What other things from you was that drawing point to say, I want to be and open my store in Tipp City, Ohio?
The people. I wanted to give back to my community. My nonprofit background, I have one of the things that's been core to my business since it came from my house has been partnering with nonprofits, collaborating with anybody who wants to collaborate. You know, as long as it makes sense and I can find something that works for both of us, I'm down to collaborate. And I felt like that was more possible there. I wanted my kids to see me working in a store, helping people they knew. So I just wanted to be a big supporter of the schools, everything. So, you know.
So your first day, how did you feel when you opened?
Tired.
Like, walk us through the emotions.
Yeah.
Like, walk us through the emotions of the experience.
Online to-
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to do that without feeling them right now because I am a feeler. And when I start that, I start crying. And it's been a feely week. So
Yeah, I respect
full
that.
disclosure.
Yep.
I have a process I go through. Anytime I have a big change in my life, I get super excited. I'm a little hesitant. And it's much like when I came here to Bellefontaine, too. I mean, you guys got up close and personal. A little frantic. Lots of frantic. I'm not going to do that right away. Then I do it right away because I'm all in or out, all out. I don't do in between. There's no gray with me. And when I've made a decision that I'm going to do this, I'm on it and we're going to do it right. And I get really mad when I found out that I've done it wrong. So, you know, I didn't know I had to have an occupancy permit in Tipp City. And it's a change of personnel that resulted in that. That's how I found out. Really drove me nuts when I found that out after I'd been in business for a year, you know, little things like that. So, I'm a perfectionist and I do not like to wait on anything. So even just waiting for the flooring to get put down in our shop and Tipp was a nightmare for me.
And I think people don't understand all of those, you know, she mentioned the occupancy permit. That's one of like 100 different steps. And it's not real clear. Like, you can't just go to a website or read a book that says, oh, when you're getting ready to open up your business, here's the 100 things you need to do. You'll hear things and you'll start doing things, but then people will come in and say, well, why are you doing it that way? That's completely wrong. You don't have a permit for this. You didn't talk to this board. Oh, well, Susie down there, she's angry with you because you picked the same color sign that she has. Like, no one understands.
Yes.
It's like, you're just trying to stay in your lane, focus to like get open. And it seems like these waves are like coming at you to like close you down.
And they keep getting bigger. And what's crazy about that particular incident was I called and asked. And I said, do I need these things? They said, no, you're good. A year later, I have the fire marshal saying, you can't have boxes next to your furnace in your closet. You know, little things. And
they
were
seem
kind
like little
about
things,
it.
but where she's coming from like an emotional standpoint, is that the amount of physical energy that it takes to open up something new is one metric to monitor. The other one is the emotional energy.
Yes.
And you're trying to do this while also being a wife, being a mom. And then when you hire employees, you're like, oh, that's going to make my life easier because I've got more people that can do work. that does for a while, someone's got to train them.
Right.
They have needs and they have emotional, things that they're going to need counsel on. And so until you really talk, and that's kind of like this fellowship of meeting other entrepreneurs and other business owners, a lot of folks on the outside are like, hey, you're making all this money in your business. Here's my donation request. And then you're like, and not you just get one donation request, you get like Facebook pings and you get,
I'm currently sitting on like 5 right now. So ranging from $1,000 to, a $25 donation.
And it's just, they're little things when you hear them, but collectively, it's just a lot. Those are some of the things to navigate. Now, I ask you how you felt when you opened and those experiences of interacting with your customers, seeing your employees that you trained shine. Tell me about that.
Okay, so when I finally opened, it's like giving birth, and I've had 2 children. I know.
I can relate. That's exactly what it feels like.
We're learning.
It's not that much different. I've also had kidney stones, so full disclosure, it's not that much different. Only you get a baby at the end of those. Well, I got a store at the end of this, but the pain is the same.
I love that.
There's a lot of pain and excitement, and everyone's asking a million questions that you can't answer. Before you know what the gender of your baby is. Everybody wants to know what the gender of the baby is. What are you going to name it? Where's it going to be? All these things. Are you going to go to work afterwards? All the things. It's not that different for a store, really. Everybody wanted to know everything. When I first started, I didn't have employees. I think I waited a month or 2, and I was only open 5 days a week because I knew I physically could not do more than that. Mm-hmm. So when I brought on employees, it was great. But, I had a ready-made customer base in Tipp City, so that helped. So seeing people come in that I've been working with for years was amazing. Also, on the flip side, nobody talks about this, seeing people not come back that I had as customers for years because I opened a boutique now, and that's different. Even though it wasn't. It was different for some of them. So my customer base did shift quite a bit, actually, as I transitioned into brick and mortar. Even though I was still online, did not matter. So it was kind of weird. But, again, that high of interacting with my customers was amazing. And then as I hired employees, suddenly I'm in the back end more versus, out at the counter, and I'm losing that touch point, and I'm sad.
Yeah.
So I have to schedule myself now to work sales shifts. Sometimes that's a problem for my employees.
Because you get energy from being in front of the house kinds of activities where you're connecting with your customers, getting feedback. That's important for you.
And I have found that they don't want to buy if I'm not there some days. There are customers who will not come in the store unless I'm going to be there.
Wow. So I walk into too many stores today, and oftentimes the retail clerk or the person that is working the counter is so disinterested. And if I'm there or not there, sometimes I walk in and they're on their phone, not even looking up. And, I think it's a skill set that we've done a poor job of teaching younger people on how to communicate and interact. But like the flip side of that is you remember, I think where the shift was is you'd walk into some stores. Like if you ever try to buy a car, you got 4 salespeople on you and they're asking you why they're there and they're not letting you go. Or I always like going to the furniture store, like that experience. Like that's on the opposite spectrum. How do you look at what's kind of your training, your education for your retail operation?
Well, as a quick aside, I used to be a secret shopper at times, so I've been to lots of car dealerships. I can tell you all the places that are great.
Can you explain what is secret shopping?
You're basically like a mock customer. They don't know that you're not a customer, but you go in and you're rating them on everything. So if they are really annoying, you're going to tell them that. So it's really crazy. You don't tell a person directly, but you fill out forms afterwards and
give them feedback.
I used to work at Aldi, and we used to have secret shoppers come through. And I freaked out, the first few times. But then after a while, you've been working there a while, you can kind of sniff them out a little.
Sometimes you can. I feel like you probably can. So, so the thing is, we don't have sales staff. We have retail therapists. We are your friend. I love that.
Retail therapist.
Yeah, retail therapy is a thing. It is not like some, thing for memes out there. It's a real thing. And we are the first sometimes to find out someone's pregnant. We are the first to find out sometimes that someone has had a death in the family and they have a funeral to go to in the next day or 2.
Yeah.
Someone's getting a new job. Someone's new in the area. Someone just lost 100 pounds. Someone just gained 100 pounds.
Going on a date.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah,
you probably hear all the dating stories.
Oh my gosh. I get a lot of interesting stories. Or getting a divorce. I mean, there's any life stage you can imagine, we get it. Our customer base, I would say we age, as far as ages that we're targeting, we're going for more the 30 to 55 crowd, a little bit older than your traditional boutique, I think. But our customer base does go from teens, more early 20s. I've got women in their 80s buying distressed capris from me. So,
love that.
you know, we approach them as our friends. And my typical thing I'll say to you is, hey, let me give you the quick spiel because we're a little different. I give them the spiel about what we do. And afterwards, I'll say, let me know if you want to try on the Judy Blue jeans. If you're going to try them on, you must try them on if you're new to them because I got to make sure you don't get saggy butt later. They love that.
Love that.
And I always tell them, you know, I'm not going to bother you because there's a fine line between being helpful and being a stalker. And I'm not going to cross that for you, but you yell at me if you need my help. And I find that the more real and authentic I am with them, they love that. I just talk to them like a friend. So that's really how we approach everything we do in our business. And that's what our employees do too.
I really like that. The other thing that you mentioned that I think is special in your business is the word boutique. And a lot of people didn't understand like what is a boutique. It sounds fancy, but how the retail landscape has changed in the last 20 years and even before that, where you know a lot of the retail 100 years ago used to be in historic downtowns. So the J.C. Penney's, the Montgomery Wards, the Sears Roebuck. And then, you know, when the malls started developing in the 60s, a lot of that retail migrated from historic downtowns to malls. And then I remember I was an 80s kid, so like you were too. Like the special experience was to be able to go to the mall with your family or your friends and do all the things. And that it's pretty crazy that the malls don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I don't think we have any malls by us anymore. I think Piqua was the last holdout, and I'm not sure. It's just recently been bought, so it's probably gonna be different now.
So the pendulum, and I think you're capturing that by bringing people not want to wear the same clothes that the Gap has. I mean, in the 80s, it was cool to wear the shirt that said the Gap.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all wore the same gray shirt. How boring. I mean, I look back at some of those pictures and I'm like, what was I doing?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But like today, people want to express their personality. They also want something that fits.
Right.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
So I'm going to own it first. Listen. I'm not the tallest guy, and I will also, I'm still growing. I'm just growing in the wrong ways. But like, I go and I want a nice button-up shirt, and I put it on, and then it hangs down to my knees. I look like an idiot. So like, are you going to, and you can't find a seamstress anymore. They don't exist. Okay. Like they've all retired. So like, what am I going to do? I'm just going to look weird. And so when you mentioned this size inclusive boutique, like I really did, like I sought you out.
Yes.
We have some great boutiques in downtown Bellefontaine, but the complaint that we were often hearing is that a lot of the clothes are beautiful, but they don't fit my body type.
Exactly. And for those who don't know what I look like, I am pretty open about my size. I'm not giving you my weight. That's not happening. But I am a size 22 in women's, which is pretty plus size. But most boutiques, when you look at them, they can be incredible, but they usually go to a large or an extra large at most. And some of those larges and extra larges, you're talking about styles that are cut differently, and they're cut to be skinnier styles. I don't know how else to explain that. They're restrictive. They don't stretch. So they might really, truly fit. You know, you might have to size up in those items. For me, I can't do that. So for me to get a 3X in any of these stores is not going to happen. And it's not just a Bellefontaine thing. I mean, it happens everywhere. So when I would go shopping with friends, it was a miserable experience. One of the reasons I started boutique in general was I would go to a big box store that I won't name. And every season I would get a couple different kinds of shirts to go with my basic black pants and my sensible shoes for work. And I would settle for things that I hated. I'd be huffing and puffing in the dressing room, sweaty at the end of it, miserable. And I feel like I'm settling for one item that I really don't even love, doesn't even look that great. But if I don't get it, it's been a wasted trip and I'll have to do this whole thing again. I'll wear it for one season at most and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's been the experience. And you feel miserable and demoralized when you're in the dressing room. And if I went with a friend who's maybe a size 4, we can't even shop in the same section of the store together. There is zero fun in that.
Yeah.
Zero fun. So in the areas where I would go for clothes, they were filled with what I always refer to as grandma clothes. The thing is, not even grandmas want grandma clothes. So, I'm talking about the kinds of, if you say grandma clothes, you're picturing it in your head. But think about all the grandmas none of them want to wear those things. Mm-hmm. So, I wanted options that felt and looked good. So, yeah, size inclusivity has been really important to me. That's one thing that I did learn through my previous sales experience, that it's just something big. And you were saying you're short. My husband's 6'6". I cannot buy clothing for him in a store.
Yeah.
Tall people have the same issue.
Yes. Yeah. And he's
our bodies are built. We're built differently. And I think that's a trend in fashion now. You and other retailers are forcing a lot of the manufacturers of clothes to rethink how they sell things.
Yes. And it's interesting because the average woman in the U.S., I've always heard that it was a size 14. People will talk about Marilyn Monroe and say how she was a size 14. The average woman is nowadays a size 16, 18. So that's larger, and she's got curves, and especially, as you've had fluctuations in your weight, you might be the same weight you were 10 years ago, but everything's moved to a different place now.
Right.
So nothing stays where it was. Mm-hmm. So, we just need to have options for everybody. It's silly.
And it's not just plus size, right? Like you were
right.
telling me that on our call earlier.
Right. I would like to see, honestly, in a perfect world, if I could work with manufacturers, most of them still like to play in that small to large, extra large zone. I have a handful I can work with that are really good and cut things appropriately. That's a difference too. And good quality that do small to 3X. I would personally love to see an extra small to 6X run in everything there is out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll see that anytime soon. There's a few places that do it, but you have to private label.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. So it's not going to happen with me, but
yeah,
we do carry some items up to a 6X. So, but I'm passionate about it having not just one rack of plus size clothing in there. That's another thing I would find at some boutiques. And again, it's not about fountain thing. It's an everywhere thing. They'd say they have plus size, but they have one little rack of things that there's no way I'm wearing that.
Yeah.
It's not happening. So to have every single style we offer available, small to 3X on the same rack where I can shop with friends of different sizes, it's mind-blowing, and it shouldn't be.
Tell me about how you've connected the online store with your physical brick and mortar. How do those two coexist?
Well, we do a lot of local pickups. That's the first thing that we do. We've always done local pickups. We did, when we opened the second store, it created some confusion online a little bit about where you could pick things up because it might be an item located in Tipp City and an item located in Bellefontaine, and you got to get to the right place, all that. So we would just do it behind the scenes. People, if you're a brand new customer, you wouldn't necessarily know that we're going to do that for you, but we would. Now our website's fixed so that works. But the local pickup's been huge. So I find that if someone comes in to pick something up, they're more often than not going to pick something else out and buy it then too. And they'll bring a friend and they'll have a good experience. And it's an easy experience. Or if you're working a lot of hours and you can't be there during the times that we're open, maybe you send your husband. It's not a miserable experience for him. He gives your name and we hand it to him and we don't over-estrogen him. And he walks out and he's happy.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate
I love that.
Yes, we try to make it as easy as possible. So that's been a huge piece of it. Plus, we have all the models we have online. They are either employees of mine usually, or more often, they are just regular members of the community. They might have shopped with me. Some haven't, but they're all different sizes. We show everything in a small, medium, a large, extra large, and a 2X, 3X. It's in that kind of like those categories. Mm-hmm. So depending on the person we're utilizing, that changes.
And I want to compliment you. I think that's really smart for a few ways, is that she, on her social media, she'll ask for applications for models. I'm looking for these people. Here's how to apply. This is some of the perks that you'll get. And people that apply and they can try on these clothes, I don't know the numbers, but I happen to imagine that when someone becomes an ambassador and they get to try them on, they're probably going to spend a lot of money with you.
They do. I don't always let them buy everything that they got to try on that day, but I will tell them when it's coming out as soon as I know, because sometimes I make that decision. Like this morning, I decided I was releasing 2 things. Didn't know I was going to do it ahead of time.
But if you see the genius in what she's saying, that from an external standpoint, from the marketing of these are all the sizes. These are local people. I imagine if they're proud of how those pictures look or how they're doing, they're going to share it, which impacts their audiences. And it's spreading really positive brand awareness.
Right.
And women don't get pictures of themselves. They're the ones taking the photos most of the time, but nobody's taking a good picture of them. I mean, I don't know how it is for you guys, but the women in your lives, you know, when my husband takes pictures of me, I have to ask, and they are always taken not in a way that I would like. He's an engineer by trade. That's just not his jam, and that's fine.
Listen, I'm a photographer, and my wife is still not happy with how I take
That
photos.
makes me feel so much better. I highly recommend Googling the husbands of Instagram video that is out there. It is fantastic.
Okay. Love that.
It is fantastic. But so my husband knows he won't even take my picture anymore. But if I can tell women, I'm going to take your picture and it's going to look pretty, and you can use it however you want. I don't care. We used to pay a photographer to do it. And then I was told by my staff, they're like, Nikki, you can do this. You don't need to pay someone to do this. So I don't. I do it myself, all my fancy iPhone, and I don't really edit that much. And at the same time, we do some TikTok stuff. So we'll do silly stuff where we're dancing in the middle of the street or I don't know, whatever. It could be anything. We climbed, one of our best videos was climbing a wall. How that was the best video on TikTok, I have no idea. But
TikTok is a mystery we have yet to
fully understand.
yeah.
You know, that's the other thing is I think it's important that your business have a brand and have messaging around it. And one of the things when I first saw the Unboxed logo, it was all lowercase. And, you know, Nikki kind of advised us as we're using that, that's how we should use it. So you see that she always was already thinking, how can I be different? And how can I, not only with the visual identity of the logo, but that how it's used in text. And I just want to compliment you on that. And then the other thing that if you walk by her storefronts, and I say two, because we talked about Tipp City about a year ago. She started Bellefontaine, Ohio, here in the downtown on West Columbus Avenue. And you do a lot of engaging activity on your sidewalks. Tell us about that.
So I worked a shift today, so I had to set it all up this morning. But I pick out... usually it comes from a funny quote or meme someone has shared. Sometimes we had a customer one time got a little mouthy with me online, and so I may have shamed her a little on the sign, but it all in good fun. The next day we said, we're sorry, anybody with that name gets 10% off today. So,
brilliant.
You know, you do what you got to do.
I love that.
She said that she would never shop with us again. So whatever. She didn't like a dirty word. So what we do is we try to make sure that our signs are fun. We want you to see what we're doing. And I can't take full credit for that. I did see Hurt Mercantile down in Dayton is fantastic with that. Look them up on Facebook. They have a wonderful sign thing they do. We don't go quite as spicy as they do. You know, different market.
Sure.
But we do try to make them fun. And, you know, some of the signs have been as simple as "We Dissent." That was one of the signs that really sticks with me to this day because we're all about female empowerment. I got more flack over that sign than I did about the one where, hey, can I check out your butt or can you drop your pants in our shop? Things like that, you know, the authentic voice that we have behind us is all about being fun, snarky, but also, you know, empowering women. So we're just about getting a good laugh more often than not. Today, though, for instance, after I did the sign, and I let my staff know and tip what they were doing for that one. You know, I go out there and I take pictures. I put mannequins outside as long as they are heavy on the bottom and won't fall over. That's another thing.
The things you learn with the storefront.
Yes, they shatter. They're terrible. But I even put a bench outside, and literally, I didn't have to make a fancy sign out of this, but the other day I made a sign and taped it to it with packing tape that said husband babysitting and just put it on the sidewalk. And, you know, people like it.
Can I tell you the other thing about having that voice and also just creating a little drama and excitement on the sidewalk? It takes so much courage for people to go to that storefront door and pull it open. It's still bizarre. And the other thing, I'm not sure if you have this, but a lot of our restaurants, like in Brittany Saxton, who we had that owns 600 Downtown Pizzeria, you'd be amazed at how many people sit down in her restaurant and say, hey, can I order a burger? It says, the sign on the outside says world famous pizza. You walk in, like there is nothing about burgers, but people, you almost have to hit them in the head 5 times. And then you want to hit them in the head of what you do. But the second thing is you want to make them feel welcoming, that they have the courage to open that door. Do you agree with that? Do you have those issues?
I feel like when people come in, a lot of times, especially when you look at like First Friday events, We have women who come in with their husbands more than any other time. And it doesn't matter which location. Both are the same. One of the first things I say is I see the woman walking in who's like, oh my God, he's not going to let me buy anything because he's here with me. And we do free notes, by the way. She won this. I'll put that in your package anytime. Just ask.
Ooh, I love that.
So, but the other thing is the man is coming behind her and he is like, oh my God, estrogen overload. Looking around the store, lots of frills. We're not even that frilly, but he's looking at ruffles and things and he is just overwhelmed. First thing I'll say to him is, hey, we've got free husband babysitting. This wall of mugs, I guarantee you will giggle. Just go over there and leave her alone. She's good. Or in the Bellefontaine shop, we're lucky that we have a really big couch. I actually was telling people a couple weeks ago, go ahead, kick back on the couch. There's a skylight above it. It's really comfy. I sleep on that couch sometimes. They love hearing these things. So the more you could do that and just interact with them. And then I always tell, as the weather allows anyways, we want our music pumping. And it's older music. It's not usually younger music. We want lights flashing and we want funny outside. Yeah. That's our goal.
That's awesome. Jason, we have several boutiques in the downtown. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people that come in for tours or otherwise get a little confused. Like, doesn't that in such a small town cause competition? And I want to get your perspective here on it here in a second, Nikki, as well. But like, tell me a little bit about your philosophy behind that.
Well, we saw the same thing with coffee shops. I think like every town, you need a different type of coffee shop for a different experience.
Yeah.
And when you have a critical mass of coffee shops, people say, oh my gosh, let's go to that town and get a cup of coffee. So we talked about this and, ahead of time I said, we have already some really great boutiques in our town, but instead of looking as competition, it's an opportunity for collaborators.
Right.
What have you seen?
One of the first things we did when we came here is I walked around and looked at some of the other boutiques. One of my favorite things to do is when time allows, I will check out and I will go to another town near me or maybe not so near to me, and I will see what's in that town. I'll walk around, I'll see how they're doing things. I know who the big sellers are in the region. I've checked them out and just kind of look to see what I can do better and things that, I can improve on. When I came to Bellefontaine, you guys don't have anyone else who's size inclusive, and that was my niche. Now, if there was another size inclusive, I might not have come here, but there wasn't. So I saw that right off the bat as an opportunity, and all the clothing I carry, there's very little overlap. Everything I carry is so different than what most other places are carrying because they have a much broader group to pick from on vendors as well, because most places only do small to large or extra large. And that's a whole other set of vendors a lot of times. It's very rare to find them that they'll do all the sizes. So, they're shopping from a whole different gamut. So.
That's cool. And I just like the concept of like, how much more likely are you to take a day trip, with a group of friends out to somewhere like Bellefontaine if there's more than one place to stop in. Like,
right.
Boutiques are only so big. Like, storefronts are only so big. You're going to go in, check it out for a few minutes.
Each one's so different.
Yeah.
We don't carry a lot of graphic tees. You will notice when you walk in our shop, I will get one or two each season that are funny to me. And it's my humor usually. So it's like a 13-year-old boy. So right now my favorite is Go Luck Yourself. That's the one we have for sale right now.
St. Patrick's Day is coming up.
Right. So it's usually things like that. I think one of our Valentine's ones in the past was You Deplete Me. Things like that. Funny things that you're not going to see anywhere else. But I don't make the markup on T-shirts that other places do because I don't make them.
Yeah.
So if I made them, I could do a better markup. But here in Bellefontaine, you have a plethora of people who do really great graphic tees. You don't need that from me.
Yeah.
So I don't do shoes. I don't do hats.
Yep.
The reason I don't do those two things, I don't want to ship them. They're a pain. But a lot of places do, and that's great. So I will send someone to those places.
So you've identified what you're good at, what makes you different, stick to it. And then like that helps you make a decision as a boutique owner, whether I'm going to, enter into this area or not. And
what's been helpful too is we look for, if we don't offer it and we want to offer it, we look for a different way to offer it. And a really good example of that is we have done a couple of mug planting events. Our mugs are really popular. They're really snarky a lot of times. Sometimes they're a little risque. Some are really sweet, more often than not, they're snarky. But so we take our mugs and we partner with plant shops to do the planting part of the mugs. We will do an experience, not just a shopping event, an experience event. And we bring a bunch of mugs and we will ask a local plant shop like back here in Bellefontaine or Blue Mora down in Tipp City. They actually are right next door to us. It works out perfect. And they know how to plant things. I don't. I will kill them. So they bring their plants, we bring the mugs, and we have found the most success. We have done them in our shops before, but the best ones have been at local breweries. So we've gone down to Chafee's Brew House in Tipp City and done that. And it was like we advertised it as a date night type thing, or just bring a friend or come on your own and meet a friend. And then we've done one here at Roundhouse. And both of those were great nights. One thing that was really good is doing it the same night in both places. It made communication so much easier. So
great tips and advice for listeners about that. And the other thing, tell me about the hours you keep. You know, when we go and visit other towns, sometimes the complaint is, you know, they have hours at random. It's sometimes they close before there's that. Like, you keep pretty good hours. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to do. That's one thing I'm not much of a stickler on as a boss. A lot of what you do, as long as you're doing a good job, I really don't care how you do it. As long as things look good and people feel good, I'm happy. But hours is really important to me.
Consistency, right?
Consistency. Yeah. If you are not consistent in your hours, people think you're failing and you're going to close. That's right off the bat. And they're annoyed. They've taken time out of their day to come see you. So today, I was one of the rare times I actually left for lunch. I was manning the shop. I put a sign up that said, grabbing a taco back in 5 minutes. Ordered my taco from down the street, ran down to Flying Pepper, but people tried to go in as I was leaving. I said, can you give me 5 minutes? And they said, yep, we're going to go in this other shop. That is very rare for me. DoorDash and I are intimately acquainted in Tipp City, so they know me well there. But we don't do that. We're open 7 days a week. Our hours, in the spring, we're doing 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the week. We do Saturdays, and we do Sundays.
And you've got your online store.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's always
open.
working for you.
And we have a Facebook VIP group where people are shopping as well.
And you do Facebook Lives in that to kind of share stuff? Or?
We do. So I used to be more of a live seller. Back before live selling was a really big thing, I was one of the first people doing live sales.
Okay.
So I burned out on that and don't enjoy it the same way. So, you know, it's a little different. Some of the best experiences I had on it, sales-wise, were nightmares because I had a ring light fall on my head or one blew up in the middle of one. That was a great night. Or my kids are screaming in the background because they ran through, somebody got out of bed and shouldn't have been. You know, there's always things. So it wasn't fun.
What's next for you as you think about some goals and plans that you have?
Stability right now. I think honestly, and I don't think we talk about, I don't want to call this a mistake. I don't want to say that, but we don't talk about the lessons learned enough. I should have waited a little longer to open a second store. I think the economy played a role in that as well. I don't want to call us, you know, in that R word. I don't even like that word. But I do think we have seen a little bit of a dip, and I think that has not helped at a time when I needed a little bit more out of the economy. So anyways, I probably would have waited until this year to do that. My son asked me the other day, so you're opening a third shop, Mommy? I was like, not a chance. Not a chance. So, you know, maybe in a few years, but.
So it's stabilizing and enhancing the quality.
Yes.
Are there any new product lines that you're thinking about bringing in? Any new types of events that you're hoping to accomplish?
Events is where I tend to gravitate towards just naturally. We are looking at a couple different things. I'm partnering more with the downtown partnerships when I get the chance. Still learning in Bellefontaine how everything works and where I can lend more to the community here. In Tipp, we had things like Witch's Day Out is a really good example. And all it is basically women can come wearing a witch hat and you get a discount. Well, we've been doing that in Tipp. We've done it 2 years now. And we brought it to Bellefontaine to trial it out this last year. But now in its third year, it's becoming an official downtown Tipp City partnership event. This year it will be an official event. And we have local ladies who are called the Witches of Dow, who are at Halloween. There's always that house, you know, there's always a house. And so these are some generally older women, I would say between like 40 and 65. And they all have themed witch costumes. They are notorious throughout Tipp City. People love them. And they you know, we have the Highlander witch is one of them, and, you know, they'll have a Harry Potter witch. They have all sorts of things. So anyways, we invite them. We invited a tarot card reader, things like that. We try to spice it up. We had a food truck for it. So it's becoming a thing, and that's more of what I would like to do. When I look at like Mother's Day and things like that, I like to bring in things like, you know, free chair massages, things like that. So anything I could do that's going to partner and amp up an event and make it more of an experience versus just shopping, I try to do that.
When you think of the younger version of yourself, is there any advice that you would share?
Well, we've talked about this a little bit in the, you know, earlier today even, about that weird.
Yeah.
My weird has a place. At 43, I'm starting to finally feel like I am definitely a square peg trying to go into a round hole most times. I feel like I am the least professional person in the room. I am not likely. Nowadays, I will not wear a suit. You can't make me. So the fact that I'm even wearing a blazer today is a joke, but it goes with my jeans. So, you know.
There you go.
Yes.
I've decided.
Shoes.
It's interesting in your 40s. There is this time that you look in the mirror, and I don't think you get it in your 20s. You're lucky if you get it earlier in life.
Right.
I think it came to me in my 40s where I have said, I have arrived.
Yes.
Because there's this period, you keep working and thinking for the future, and you're intimidated by other people, and you really care about how you're perceived.
Right.
Like anymore, it's just this realization, I have arrived, and I'm like you. You'll very rarely ever catch me wearing a tie.
Right.
I will wear comfortable shoes, and I don't care what you think about me or anything that I say or do.
Yeah, it's
just,
whole
this
thing.
is what you get.
Yeah, I've really landed in that more. I'm not good with small talk and things like that, so I will avoid events where I have to network per se. But if you can get me sitting down with a beer and talking business, oh shoot, we're on. I'm all about that. So I'm definitely a more informal person, and I think when I was younger, I thought that meant unrefined. Nowadays, I feel like no, I just communicate in a different level. It's a different way of doing things. I'm also the one though that will work the front counter, that will get down and dirty and do the weird things. And, you know, when business is struggling, I will put on a dinosaur costume and walk around town. Done that twice now. So,
What do you do to recharge?
oh gosh, I should probably figure that out, shouldn't I?
Well, and I'm asking that, you know, being authentic about what you do takes a lot of energy.
Yes.
And you're also pretty transparent on social media, the days when like things are going well and the days that, hey, I'm not doing the best today, but I'm working through that. Like,
right.
is there some tricks or things that you're like, these are things that fill me up and remind me and recharge me when my battery's low?
Xanax is helpful. So, no.
Well,
I mean, only on occasion. No. One thing, you know, I used to be afraid to share my mental health struggles with people. I still like to pretend I have no feelings. That's always a big joke too with my friends. But I have found my customers thank me later. What people don't see, they can see me as being an oversharer on Facebook and such, but then they don't see the private messages I get. From, you know, I've shared about, like, I have endometriosis. I've shared about that on there and some of the really nasty stuff that goes with stuff, you know, diseases like that. But then I'll have women who will message me and they're so scared to tell anybody that they have it and that these things are affecting them. So mental health is right up that same alley. And the best thing I could tell people is find ways to turn things off when you need to, whatever that means. I don't work out. I don't diet. I should do these things. But I've also found they stress me out more than being chubby. So I'm okay with being chubby. I'm okay with that most days. You know, reconnecting with my friends, finding authentic people who are willing to have those weird conversations and hard conversations. That's always good too. But more often than not, the best thing I can do if I'm in a funk, especially if it's about business, get out and actually work with people at an event or, you know, like today, just checking out customers at the shop. And when I interact with them later, they will message me and tell me, I had a great time. I had someone message me last night, or she commented on her Facebook and said, I'm so glad I listened to you on that sizing for those jeans. They are amazing and they are my favorite pair ever. So that is what does it for me more than anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that.
Awesome. You have anything for us as we kind of wrap up the episode here?
I just want to say that I think what you have done in retail, you should be really proud of. And I think there's lots of nuggets that you shared today about the importance of finding your brand, the importance of doing something that not everyone else is doing, and particularly, the way that you make people feel. I think that's another theme that came out, and I think that's why you're successful and why you're going to continue to be successful, because you really are dialed in, listening to your customers, the way you make them feel, the way that they talk about your business, and having that authentic message. So I think this is really, if you're in your town and you want to work to help your retailers take them to the next level, there's so many nuggets that you shared today that I think people can implement into their own plan in their own life. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Nikki, do you have any professional development resources that were helpful for you in your entrepreneurial journey? Like, it could be books, podcasts, anything?
I really like Boutique Hub for boutique owners. I think I get a lot of people who say, I want to do what you do and sell clothes behind a computer. And obviously that's not how that works.
Yeah.
I always laugh.
Surprise.
Like, oh, if you only knew. No, I highly recommend Boutique Hub as a starting point, because that's a question I get all the time.
Yeah.
I learn a lot from talking to my peers in other states, like I mentioned earlier, but also from other small business owners who are like-minded. I mentioned Chafee's Brew House in Tipp City. The owners of that, they have also opened a gift shop around the corner from there. And sitting and chatting with Lisa from there is just so much fun. And then talking with people like Joe Labor out of Troy. He used to be in radio in Sydney, and now he does his own marketing firm type thing. And just chatting with those like minds, they have big ideas, and they are not afraid to try crazy things and be good at them. So, And if they fail, we'll learn, and we'll do it again to see if it was just us or just a timing thing, and we'll do it again and again. So I would recommend find people in your area and just chat with them. Yeah. More than anything.
I love that. The last question I have for you is, where can people follow you or keep up with what's happening with your business?
All right. Best place is unboxedboutique.com. We are also on Facebook with a business page. It's Unboxed. It's all lowercase. That's how you know you got the right one, because there's lots of them apparently. We have a Facebook VIP group. That's where the fun things happen. So you probably want to request that. We are on Instagram. And as old as I am on the Tickety Talks and trying it. So.
Love it.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in and checking out the Small Nation podcast. You can find us anywhere that you listen to your podcast, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even the Small Nation YouTube channel. I hope you were able to pull some value from that conversation. We hope to see you in the next one. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, comment, or a 5-star review to help more people to discover this podcast. Stay tuned to Small Nation on social media to keep up with all the cool projects that are happening here. And until next time, this is Ethan with the Small Nation podcast signing off. Thanks, guys.